because the YouTube Studio thing is a little goofy.
YouTube gets a little wonky.
It's a little goofy, so here it is. Why isn't it waiting for Lawrence Systems? Yeah.
There you go.
Go live. Mic check, mic check. Oh, it says you're live. Look at this. It actually worked this time. I'm impressed.
Nice.
I'm impressed. I got too many things open on my computer. Let me close all this crap I have open.
Let me get to my computer at home.
All right.
Mute. Mute.
I didn't even check. I think we look centered. All right. It's a new studio setup. Forgive us. As long as the audio is good and the content's good, I hope the audience will forgive us. So, all right. We are live with episode 8 of How They Got Hacked. Getting started in cybersecurity, hacking some news. And boy, I don't even know if we should cover the other one, but we'll at least say who we are first. There we go. Tom Lawrence.
Xavier D. Johnson.
Maurice Nash.
All right, and we are the hackers that are going to be bringing to you how we get started in hacking. We're going to be talking about that today. We're going to cover a few news topics because I think once we get to how we get started in hacking, this is going to be the rest of consuming topic.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about it.
And I'm hoping that you took the time to watch the interview Xavier did, which was outstanding.
Yes,
thank you.
Yeah, so we got a lot of good kudos on that, but him and Chris Roberts talked about hacking, talking about getting into hacking. We also bring up the fact that you gave us some beer money, therefore we have beer. So
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
This beer is because you paid for it.
There you go.
Beer, hacking, caffeine, those are all, all that stuff is what makes hacking possible.
Now let's see. Sin Wi-Fi Pineapple, Sin 0 Days. If all it took was beer money, then I want some other cool things that you guys got to offer too. Anybody who has any cool tricks, I definitely want to see them.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, so definitely there. I'm following up. We need some studio lights.
It's changing in Detroit right now. It's changing from hoodie weather to t-shirt weather, and you can see Tom's already comfy.
I'm all about
in
t-shirt and things like that.
So I gotta get comfy. Excuse me.
Yeah. I can turn the lights up. We have studio lights. They're just not turned up. Well, the studio lights are turned up, but the camera's not adjusted, I think. I see it's a little bit dark, but hey, whatever. We're going to be doing some screen shares and things like that because I do have that set up so we can hot switch to this. And we have the TV behind us until we're finished. There's more construction work going on the other side that you can't see. And I talked about this the other day. Our studio is in the state of taking apart until we put it back together to make it even better. I got more stuff and more lights on order, so it's going to be fun. Anyways, let's start into some of the stories here. Let's see. Let me get all this. We were running a few minutes behind poking at stuff, so.
I see Chameleon has asked me where are the stickers. Yes, my hack top is still down at the moment. Sorry. You guys going to have to look at the blend.
If anyone wants to send them a new hack top.
Or send some stickers, and I'll put them on the laptop, and
there you go.
We can get this one slapped up.
We can go as low as stickers. We can go as high as hack top. You let us know.
Yeah, let us know on that. I will laugh because we have some of these here. So let's start with this stupid story that is childish. It's what a hacker does when they're really young. Something childish, stupid hack. And they hacked some Lime scooters here to say sexual things to the riders that scanned and picked them up.
There you go.
I don't think I can pipe the audio through my laptop, but when you go to pick up your Lime scooter, if you're not familiar, these are the scooter rental things. And this didn't happen specifically in Detroit. This is in Australia, but we have these things all over Detroit now.
They're littered all over. How about this? We won't say all over Detroit.
Yeah.
We're going to say in certain parts of Detroit, they're littered everywhere.
But in most major cities, they're littered.
They're signifier of growth in our city. If you see the Lime scooters, you're in a good neighborhood. Because they didn't make it to the bad parts for sure.
Yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing. So let's go back to the childishness that was this. Basically, when you go pick it up, the scooter would say things like, if you're going to ride me, at least pull my hair. Okay, I was 10 years old once.
I think what made it more interesting was that the audio, where did the audio come from? It's not something that someone is just saying. It's got to be a clip from somewhere.
Well, yeah, and apparently...
It sounds like ownage pranks.
Yeah, it's kind of some ownage pranks. I didn't even realize they had the speaker like that. I've actually never, full disclosure, I've never rode a ride, or what's the other one? There's
Bird.
Lime and Bird. Bird. There's same
Free plugs.
Yeah, free plugs for those scooter companies. If you love them, hate them, whatever, or you're just littered or sick of them. But they've popped up all over the place. They're kind of like you pay app, scan it with your phone to rent them. And but I didn't even know they had made any noise. Like I didn't know
they make a chime. So when you when it's dying, it plays a noise. And it plays a different light. Only reason I know this is because they're all over the part of town in which I live. So that's interesting.
It's interesting and childish. It's obviously not anything incredible. I don't know how good the security is on these. I do know that the company that owns, I think Lyft owns one of them. Is Lyft own Ride or Lime? I don't know.
Sure.
Anyways, they're in trouble because someone found out that they would just randomly hit the brakes and fling people off of scooters. And so the tax could get a little bit more dangerous if someone did that. Like, oh yeah, let you ride for this long and it just hits the brakes. Then you just have a whole nother thing.
I know people were riding them for free for a while. It was a little workaround for that, and I know people were just riding around for free.
Yeah, so that was the thing too, modifying them so you could ride them for free. So yeah,
I mean, physical access. We talk about this stuff all the time, right? You want to talk about remediating? You want to talk about remediation? This is the physical access thing. Like if you pick up a Lime scooter, you're not breaking the law. They're basically out for the public to take.
Yep.
If you unscrew it, there's no sticker on it that says, please don't unscrew this. And if you find a UART and you just get a root command shell.
Yeah, away you go.
Is that even hacking? At that point, it's just accessing. You didn't even hack anything. You just looked.
Yeah, it's also one of those interesting things is you have all the opportunity in the world to do it. Because if you don't know the business model, they let people collect these and charge them, and they pay people to charge them, take them home, you plug them in a charger. Yeah. They have another crew, they pay you to fix them because, well, people abuse them, break them, whatever. You put them to break, you fly off, and you rip the handles off. So you have ample opportunity. They supply you with parts, and are actually kind of encouraging you, hey, take it apart and fix it. Well, why not take it apart, make it better?
There you go.
So
better,
or make it say. Why not? Like I'm older and kinder now. It would make it say polite things. I'd have it complimenting people.
I just probably wouldn't. It's just too. It just wouldn't make me any money. It's not high impact. It's a total waste. You know, if I'm attacking embedded systems, I mean. Like there's cars, trains, planes.
Yeah, but you start at scooters, and then you work your way up to a train.
God. If I was 13 and there were electric scooters everywhere, and I was in hacking,
what happened to the lulls?
Oh man,
yeah, you got to do something
for the lulls.
Sabu killed Lulsec though.
Yeah, Hector, sorry.
Oh boy.
Moving on to security cameras vulnerable to hijacking. Of
course they are.
Yeah. Well, this is we've had a few offline discussions about this too. These are the ones. These are those weird off-brand ones, and I see so many home users with them. And there's been a ton of hacks around them before. They basically get installed in people's houses. No one ever updates the firmware on them. So I even laugh that they waste their time with a CV. I mean, they're following procedure with a CV. Trust me, ain't no one going to update this. Ain't no one going to go up there. Oh, let's patch the firmware on this. Bottom of the barrel cheap thing I ordered off Amazon that has this cool iLink P2P scan and do it. And you know, I've covered this on my other podcast. The way a lot of these devices are made, because security is completely an afterthought. It's all about how quickly can we get something to market and how quickly can we get it functional. And it was discovered before with similar devices that they were loading the same SSH keys on all of them. They weren't even taking the time to do this. It's not these specific cameras, but in general at some of the embedded device levels. So once you understood the embedded device manufacturer, and they would just bolt on, we're going to take the same embedded device board, and we're going to bolt on a camera or whatever we're going to bolt on top, but these vulnerabilities just proliferate through here. And this is the same, this iLink P2P is a easy way so I can scan my phone and without having to open port forwarding and everything else. Because I remember back, years ago, I had to set up port forwarding, had to set up everything so you can have remote access to your cameras. Now they all contact the server and basically bridge access in without opening up your network ports. But that, of course, backdoors into and opens it up for a lot of abuse. So there's a few CVEs here, 2019, 11.219, 11.220, and I think that was the only two in here, and a long list of cameras. But that list is actually probably not 100% complete because there's so many other camera brands that probably use the same embedded chips with the same flaws inside of them. So it's going to be a mess. This is also why all these cameras go on separate networks.
Yeah, these cameras don't need to be on your main Wi-Fi. Do you really need to go the cheapest route when you're talking about security? Anything? They're security cameras. Do you want to go with the cheapest security door or security lock or anything security? Let's not pick bottom rung things and anticipate that they work properly.
Yeah, and this is the problem we deal with our clients a lot. They're like, I'm looking for the cheapest, lowest bidder for security cameras for my restaurant, and one of them didn't go with us, and we seen them in the news, and you can't make out the dine and dashers at all. They're just a blurry photo of someone leaving the building. I'm like, that's because they bought the cheapest cameras possible. Whoops. Why did they even bother installing? I'm like, you got nothing on these people now. It's like, oh, look, 2 blurry blobs have left the restaurant.
Exactly.
So if meanwhile, just as a side note, talk about security cameras. There's a guy who's suing Apple for, I believe, $1 billion, because he has been. We'll find the link and add it to the show notes. He was profiled by the facial recognition software as a prior, robber. Or
So it was mistaken identity.
It was mistaken identity.
And was anything happened?
Right now, as far as I know, he was innocent, and he's suing Apple now.
Apple.
That's gonna be interesting.
That's going to be interesting.
I'm gonna make sure I put that in the show notes. But you got the complete inverse of blurry blobs, right? Just find yourself in the middle. It's okay. You don't need to be Apple grade. It's all right. Yeah, I think that, when you put things on networks that, aren't secure by default because they're cheap, I think you find yourself in a world of hurt. Just don't buy cheap Internet of Things. Just go and shop with a reputable brand until we kind of figure this out and we start to give out, pieces of hardware and or pieces of software that come directly from the ISPs that protect you from this kind of stuff. Because eventually Comcast is going to have to, Xfinity, whatever they are now, are going to have to do something about this. Am I wrong?
Yeah. Well,
because it's their bandwidth, right? They're facilitating at a certain point if they don't step in and try and sell you a solution that'll start to, not easily allow holes to be punched open in your network.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Cisco's working on solutions to this, and the problem is you don't really want Comcast in the filtering business because then once that opens the floodgates, in my opinion, to them. Oh, I don't think you should visit that site, Xavier. That site looks unsafe.
Yeah, but see,
that
right now,
Metasploit download seems like something we should stop.
That's a piece of hardware, right? I feel like if we're really thinking about it, right now, I already don't lease equipment from Xfinity. I'm an Xfinity customer. I don't lease equipment from them. I have my own modem. So, there you go, opt-out plan. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they want to sell security services and things like that.
I wish they would, because, come on, man, it would cut down on so much just low-hanging fruit.
The general public's in a rough shape.
That's pretty bad.
We're trying to educate people. They are not in a good place
do we want to let the Russians just proliferate through our entire country, or do we want to just filter stuff? I don't know.
Well, look, the Russians got it figured out. They're still working on the flipping the switch so they can turn off the internet.
Oh, boy.
I don't know if you've been following that story at all, have you?
Well, there's multiple stories about the Russians flipping the switch for the internet. Which one is this? That's what's scary about it.
They want to go offline. Russia's been doing some testing on this, and it's funny because the U.S. I don't know where they're at with it anymore. I don't follow that specific, but years ago there was what was that? Cyber Wars. It was a cool read back in the day. He was a writer and he spoke at one of the conferences back in 2001. And even back then, our government was going, how do we disconnect? How do we get off the internet? How do we flip the switch to take it offline? Can we? Mm-hmm. And it turned out they tried, and it was really difficult in 2001. Mm-hmm. Well, roll forward 18 years, we've now wired everything, and I don't know where they're at, but they may have just given up going, it all connects. It's not an easy thing. They've become so reliant on the internet, it's not an easy thing. But Russia now has that same question, is can we segment out our network from the rest? And what they're doing, they're working with their ISPs to have their own DNS that don't rely on any external outside of Russia DNS, that don't rely on the root servers. This is what's very interesting. So they'll have their own local to Russia DNS without a root server upstream, and they have a day of testing. They don't have a date set, but they plan to test it this year. They keep going over scenarios until they come up with it. It's kind of a fascinating. I don't have a link specifically to it, but there's a lot of articles generally about it, so I'm not saying anything specific. But it's an interesting concept of turning it off, because what happens when this doesn't do that? And back to the Chris Roberts interview, he said the same thing. It's good to go offline once in a while. Turn the Wi-Fi off. Mm-hmm. sometimes it's good. I myself, I left today for an hour just to not do anything technical because I wanted to do something very non-technical.
I take 9 days in the middle of the summer, and I'll just go offline.
Yeah.
And I go away, and I'm like, no one can find me except for the people that are with me, and my lady. Let's be honest, right? Like she has a tether on me. She makes sure I don't get into too much trouble.
Yeah. It's right to go offline.
Yeah, it's fun. It's actually challenging because you realize how reliant you actually are. And it's funny, talk about go offline. We just had a CTF that we went to in Toledo Wednesday. And a part of the CTF was they couldn't get a port opened at the university for us to be able to get to the outside internet. So you're connected to this network that you can't Google anything for.
No Google CTF. So
you're like, man, okay, I can use Metasploit. Right, I could do my whole thing with Metasploit, or I could get the stuff out of Searchsploit, but I can't necessarily 100% debug it because either I have to use my phone, or I have to just know it. And let's be honest, I don't know everything, so I'm jumping off and on of networks. And I'm like, man, this is really, really interesting right now.
Your Google foo has been crippled.
Yeah, you don't realize how reliant you are. You might know the right query to be able to get the piece of data, but you might not actually know that data.
Yeah, and that presents a challenge because doing things from an offline perspective is a little bit different. Of course, then Tom busts out 2 network adapters so we can connect to both, so we can research.
Oh, of course.
It's not like we didn't get flags.
Right, but it was still a fun CTF.
Right. Oh, yeah,
it was still a fun CTF.
Yeah,
it was very.
It's always fun. I one of the things nice about that because they had brought up that they wanted a VPN in, but there's still something good about meeting people in real life for that because having the conversations and kind of that shared excitement when someone gets something, you're there physically. You're not there, virtually. You're just watching a chat roll by. So that's kind of cool. That's actually one of the reasons we're trying to do these shows. Between doing them live and doing them us here, we could easily sit in front of a computer, each of us at our own house, but I don't think you get the same energy out of it. Plus all the BS we do before we got here, we're driving to skip beer, and then when we turn the microphones off and everything else, some of the other conversations we have, stuff we don't want to post online.
Mics off combos.
Yeah.
Join us in the backstage, in the green room for all the behind the scenes action.
Ooh, that would be another show. That's another show.
That's another show. And that's the same thing when I do the podcast. We have some of these offline conversations, especially because, some of us work for places. My friend, he's got stories. He protects the internet from DDoS. He works for a big company. That's his job. He's the DDoS engineer.
He gets to see some things.
Yeah, he's like, what I did before I got here, man. This is stupid, but here, was it, and there's always the question, was it BGP or DDoSing? Anyways.
Both, a little mixture of both.
Little mixture of both. So that's the security camera stuff. I will go this. This is fun. For a debrief, this is the Hack the Box summary, and 0x Rick has been going through and doing these write-ups. I think there's a few of them that is on here, and it's I'll leave a link in below.
I'm familiar with his blog.
Well, after I think he takes after a box gets retired. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Today, box teacher got retired. Here's my write-up about it. I don't have too much to say about this box. It was an easy regular machine. We will exploit authenticated remote execution in a vulnerable of web application called Moodle, and the box is called Teacher. If you're not familiar with Moodle, if you're younger and you're in school, Moodle is one of the tools they use for in the education sector. I think Moodle's open source, but it's a popular tool for that. And he walks through each step of the way for how the hack occurred. And these write-ups are great if you don't know where to start. And this is one of those things when it leads into that topic. If you don't know where to start, reading debriefs and write-ups, it can seem insurmountable at first. And someone had commented today on my forums, said, I don't know programming very well, so I don't know if I could even get into this. I'm like, I'm not a programmer either, but you can get into it. You can start with just some of the tools. You start by watching how someone else reverse engineered it, and then walk through yourself the steps they did. Even though you're going to get the same result, you just walk through those steps they did, walk through the tools they used, and start poking and learning with them. And Hack the Box is awesome. It's because it's once you get into doing it. And by the way, no one thinks less of you. We just all admitted here we didn't have Google, so we couldn't capture a flag on something. Use Google to hack the box. Go through and Google how to get if you don't know how to get your invite, you don't know how to hack your way to an invite, Google how to get the invite. And there's a search result that will walk you through how to get your invite. And then you can move to the next step of hack the box and move to the next step. It's not that hard. The hardest part is just getting started and get yourself motivated and get into it.
Perseverance.
Perseverance.
Try harder.
When you run into that roadblock and you just want to give up, keep going.
Try harder. Enumerate more. Try harder.
Try harder.
Try harder.
Enumeration.
There you go. Shout out to Offensive Security. Try harder.
Try harder.
I've been begging everybody I possibly can, like, yo, okay, I'm in this lab. I run into a thing, blah, blah, blah. They're like, ooh, you're on that part? You should just try harder.
Yeah. Well, and I want to mention, too, here, like, there's, when you look at some of the stuff in here, like the programming, there is a real basic. There's a one-liner here. So for I in A to Z to echo, and it has this right here, because they had to brute force the last letters. So they just basically sent a small list. That's one line of programming in here. I was looking through it. I don't really see much else here. Some word lists and some basic stuff. There's not much programming.
You could have done that without the one-liner, by the way. Yeah.
If you're, it's better to learn the one-liner. If you didn't learn it, there's not that many times you got to type. You could have just typed these out.
Or you could just use burp or Z attack proxy, or like there's ways around it.
Or Excel. Dropped it in Excel and just dropped some letters over there.
Exactly. You have to be a hacker. Figure it out.
Yeah, there's more than one way to do it. I mean, awesome if you're good and you can do a one-liner, but that's all the programming this took. It's not like this took an entire lines and oodles of code here. This is just some basic go through a couple different tools, look at a couple different things, and they had shell, and away they go. Like I said, it's not that insurmountable to get into the programming side of it. So,
I think Autos has a good question, and then I can help Minnie with that problem.
What's that? Go ahead and read the question.
Otto said, hypothetically, how scary would a hack of one of the big talent management software, SaaS, providers be?
SaaS. How big of an impact would it be?
Yeah.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. I think that there would be private information there on candidates that they might not have public. But in today's society with LinkedIn, like I was just showing Mo my LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is a pretty open book. If you go look at my LinkedIn, you know where I went to high school, you know what classes I took in high school, you know where I went to college, you know what classes I took in college, you know my first job, you know my latest job, you know the tools I like to use, you know where I'm going to be at every other Wednesday, you know where I'm going to be at every Friday. Like we live in an age in which if you're not inside of a shell already, there's already so much of a footprint that you're leaving for better or worse, right? For me, I want to be out there. I want to be able to show people like this is the path forward. I want to be an evangelist for security. Somebody like Mo, who might not be 100% wanting to be out of the shell, that may be a little bit. He may look at this problem a little bit different and go, okay, now my information is out. They know exactly what position I was going for. You know, they may be able to triangulate that to how much income I was making or location that I'm looking to move to or that I'm living in already.
True.
Or a certain skill set that I may have that may be unique to said jobs that I've been applying to, right? So, I mean, it varies. No matter what, the person who's taking care of the actual systems and doing the infrastructure is the person who should probably be feeling the most heat at that point because that's malpractice. But I think in the age in which I can go and buy your social security number right now because it got dumped. It got dumped, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
there's a lot of that selling Equifax. There's a lot of on dark web. Well, the weird thing so far is Equifax data hasn't popped up yet, so that's weird. But there's enough of it out there.
Would you even be able to tell? Right?
That's the problem. There's everything's docs. There's so much stuff out there. It's hard.
And to answer mini bit 010, yes, we all are just working on help. Help was a tricky box. You can. I'm on Hack the Box. You can add me. It's ZeroCoolZ.
Help or help desk?
Help.
Okay.
Help is the tricky one.
Okay.
Yes, we all got rules. The user flag. We can get the root flag, but what I want to do is root the system, and that's where I'm having difficulty.
Privilege escalation.
So, I'm on Hack the Box at ZeroCool Z3R0K3WL. You can send me a message, and we'll root it together.
There you go. Look at that. That's badass.
Absolutely.
That's what this is all about.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that I was joking earlier today with some of my staff. Like, hackers are all about show and tell,
Yeah.
which is also what gets the black hat ones in trouble. Exactly what nails them because they're like, look at this company I hacked. I hacked all of it. Want to show you? Oh shit! I just showed it. I just showed the wrong person. I just showed a Fed.
Whoops.
That is, hackers not keeping their mouth shut is 99% of the time why they cut. And they shouldn't be doing illegal things. Trust me, I'm all for white hat, ethical hacking, proper vulnerability disclosure. But when you're young, you do stupid things. I'm glad I was doing stupid things before there was as much internet as there is now. So there's not even there's not some old Facebook photo because I was in the 90s. I got out of high school in the 94. So
this represents generations of.
There's 3 generations of hacking in front of you right now. You probably wouldn't even be able to really realize that, but there's literally 3 generations.
Yeah, we all started in different eras. A little discussion before the show was that you have your phone freakers are kind of like the first real hackers that at least what I would identify as the hackers, which leads to the magazine, and that's why these magazines are out here. Is something we were discussing at 2600 being Captain Crunch and the Whistle. It's a long watch, but there's a couple documentaries. One of them is going to be the BBS documentary, which touches on some of this, and I believe there's the Anonymous documentary, which touches on. There's a couple of them you can find that touch on some of these different aspects of it. But yeah, I mean, theirs, and then we moved into the more computer hacking. Some of these books date back until the early 2000s and 90s when I started getting into it. And then you have people like Xavier. When did you graduate?
Graduate where? Depends on where you ask.
Oh, high school.
I graduated high school roughly in the year of 2010.
Okay. So there's, almost 15 years after me is when he gets into it. I mean, obviously you start a little bit in high school if you're really into it. But so you got different generations on it. It's kind of fascinating because we all have different perspectives on it.
I started programming in the year 2004. I started making money in 2008 when programming. So I was right at the tail end where the only way that I could learn how to get over a certain bug or deploy a certain thing was go to a forum. And actually ask a person, right, or go to a chat, IM, right. There was no very there was Google, but there wasn't as verbose as it is now. You couldn't. I think the full text search has kind of gotten beefed up in the last 10 years.
Oh, for sure.
On Google because I feel like it's way easier to learn things now than it was when I first started programming and tinkering around with actively doing things with computers beyond just taking them apart and putting them together.
Yeah, it's changed a lot, and the internet's actually made it so much easier. I mean, there was no live streams like you're watching right now. I was showing them, and as Mo didn't see this before, in the back of each of these books is a...
Thanks, Fortress.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Fortress.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. I also think earlier we had someone else who gave us a few dollars.
And really quick, I want to answer Jim Cola 99's question. No one does hack the box with Windows.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I don't think so.
No.
But in the back of each of these books, this is one of the reasons we purchased the book, was there is all the listings of where all the meetups were. And I got these books so I could make sure I could keep track. And we had an Ann Arbor chapter in the 90s into the early 2000s. That's where I went to talk once a month. Was it the last Friday or the first Friday? It's been so many years I can't remember. But we went to those. I went to that. That's where I started meeting people and started getting into this and started understanding technology better and made some friends and things like that. Boy, I won't go too deep into it, but at least one of them went in prison over the Home Depot hack. So maybe one day I'll do a debrief of some of the people I knew, people I used to know.
I think we debriefed a lot of people.
I'm not gonna play that game.
It's all stuff it's all public knowledge, like what all happened and things like that. And it's conferences.
I graduated 9 years ago. I'm not gonna play that game. Statute of limitations are far within play.
Yeah. So I mean, we were doing it because back then it was all about creating the. We used to create the Pringle can Wi-Fi because Wi-Fi was a big thing.
Oh boy.
So and
Good old Yagi.
Yep.
Making a Yagi out of a Pringle can.
Yep, Yagi's out of Pringle can. So doing the direction, this is like 2001, and it led to a lot of other fun stuff. But, it's the same thing. It was hard to find them. Now it's so much easier. Like Hack the Box, there's people from all over the globe, globally participating. I had to, I had a cable modem early on, but a lot of people were still on dial-up when I started. So we had to dial in, so you had limited amounts to be able to talk to people and things like that. So it's changed so much. But I think it's gotten easier to get into. And there's certainly the attack surface, man. Everything is attackable now.
Everything.
Refrigerators, scooters.
yeah.
I could have never imagined. We had
The
stupid little scooters.
the camera we're filming on has an input output. Has
It
some sort of
has
buffer.
Wi-Fi.
Has Wi-Fi.
Has Wi-Fi. It actually runs I believe the Canons all run on a special version of DOS.
Wow.
Yeah, because there's a hack for some of my cameras that I've loaded called Magic Lantern that I modified some of my other cameras with, and it's like a DOS bootloader you change so I can change the firmware out of my cameras.
Hacked.
Hacked. Everything's hackable.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. I encourage everyone to get started. That's why we share all these videos. That's why we go to these hacking conferences in DC 313. It's all about that.
DC 313 is the new 2600. I won't put it like from that perspective of it's going to be a publication or it's got the same talent or caliber of talent. But what I'm getting at is it's the place that Tom would have come back in the day if 2600 didn't exist to be able to meet friends and be able to potentially meet people that goes to prison over Home Depot. I don't know.
I mean, it's a core base for like-minded individuals.
Of course.
Yeah, it was enlightening learning from them, and of course there always came that, and there comes that bravado when you're young, and someone took it a step too far. That's how they ended up in prison. That's the eventuality of it. We're going to see if we can push it just a little further. Mm-hmm. I think the statute of limitations ran on all the childish hacks we did back then, so maybe I'll talk about them. Maybe I don't. I don't know. I want to find the news articles about them because there was one of them, maybe or maybe not, someone could have perhaps taken over a Wendy's drive-through microphone. Allegedly. And had a whole lot of fun, but
Allegedly.
Don't put a Wendy's next to a hacker conference, all right?
Or don't put a Wendy's anywhere. How about that? Because those attacks still work. Because Wendy's basically is still just a huge house phone. Everybody in there.
The security's gotten better. Back then it was all this and
but you had to hack RF because of the NSA playbook. So did security get better?
Yeah. Things have changed.
Things have changed.
Things have changed. Now, I will break down one of the other hacks. I did want to cover this real quick because we've already gone about a half hour. I don't know how long we're going to go today. We haven't set time limits on this. We kind of talk until you don't listen to us no more.
There you go. Once we get down to 0 viewers, we'll get off.
Oh, yeah, 0 beers. We have somewhere to go.
People now, they keep joining.
Yeah, more people keep joining.
Hello,
We
welcome.
appreciate it. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, let me take a sip of my beer here. I'll let you guys read this real quick.
Man.
This
The
is
TA 505? Mm-hmm. Oh, boy.
this is detailed.
Oh, man.
And this is the perfect debrief. Like I said, I won't read every little detail. Mm-hmm. This is a spear phishing campaign, a very targeted spear phishing campaign. Like, they had a lot of details here. Mm-hmm. So the other part that makes me cringe just a little, though, is that little security warning that I'm at on the screen right here that says enable macros. Oh, I hate this. Mm-hmm. Now, for anyone who's worked in corporate, you actually have to click that button a lot. I won't ever click it. Like, I don't like it. But I did work in the Ford supply chain and head of IT, and we had problems. Why do we have problems? Because way back in the day, I don't know. I left that job in 2003 to start my company. But one of the problems we had was we always had to enable macros because the Ford bid sheets were filled with macros. So you had to fill it out, save it. You had to enable all the macros, all the calculations. So it was like part of the process.
I wonder if that process has changed in the last, what?
Right.
What's that, 15 years, 16 years?
Right. Probably not.
No.
Here's an example. This company got hacked by enabling the macros and doing this. And you know, from an external, if you don't work in corporate, you go, why would I enable macros?
Right.
It seems like a security risk. Those should just be disabled. I'm like, if you worked in corporate, the power of the macro helped really nice bid sheets be created. The other side of the macro is even in the back then, it was an attack vector. Was macros in Outlook back then, and macros in all the different Word and Excel, and that's what this was. And this is a wonderful how they got through the phase 2, deploying the back door, each little step of the way of how they got through there, how they targeted people, how the commands run, how they waited. And this is just an excellent write-up on here for exactly how they got hacked, the functionality models of it. Like, it's another good detail and debrief. And if you work in DevOps security and you want to protect your users, this is really good to try and read through here. And if anyone just heard that laughter, there may or may not be one other hacker in the room who will remain anonymous. He's on that side of the camera, or is not.
He'll make a guest appearance.
One of these times make a guest appearance, maybe. Or just drop a CVE somewhere, online because he's working on a thing.
Speaking of CVEs, you did a video about the Confluence thing, right?
I did a video about the Confluence.
And there already have been people getting ransomware based on something that is a weekday. What is it? What do we call them now?
It's a weekday.
End day. Was it an
End day.
End day.
Yeah.
An end day.
End day.
The infamous end day. It's funny because I coded a proof of concept. I can actually say this.
I think you tweeted it, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
he tweeted out. It's on GitHub.
Yep. Oh no, the code is not on GitHub.
Oh, it's not?
I'm not
Okay.
gonna lie to you guys. I didn't want to put the code out because it's bad.
Alright, okay.
But I did make a proof of concept for CVE 2019. I think it's 3398. And basically, that was the Confluence remote code execution, remote file inclusion, RFI to RCE. Because of the download all functionality. And I just want to let you guys know, it was really my first time making a proof of concept for a vulnerability. And the vulnerability was 6 days old at the point that I made it, and it was unpatched. And I'm just going to be honest, guys. That was just like the best feeling that I ever had in my life. Like, that was nuts. And it was right after I saw your video. So I was like, am I going to have the power of all of these guys that are out here just ransomwaring everyone's computers?
Right.
Like, am I going to have the power? And yes, I do have the power. There's 22,430 something machines that are exposed that Shodan wants to show.
Yeah,
What
about
Confluence
22,000, I think, is what we've seen on Shodan for exposures,
Lord,
public facing. And I like that because I made the comment that it's hard to update, and someone's like, that's like the most understated thing you've said,
Dude,
Tom.
it's extremely hard to update. I don't really want to talk about it, but it's really, really difficult. And, interesting enough, if you're on a certain version of Jira, I'm not going to say what because it could get really ugly, right? And I don't want to drop actual 0 days on you guys, but if you're, on a certain version of Jira, the remediation doesn't work.
Yeah. It
Oh,
doesn't.
boy.
That's enough.
Yeah.
Too much information. That's enough.
I just want to let
Yeah.
you guys know that I do have the workaround for it, depending on your environment. So we are remediated at the company in which I work for, who wants to remain nameless. We are remediated, thank God. We spent a lot of time on it, but I went out. I may or may have not went out and saw that other people may or may not be remediated properly, even though they may or may not think they are, allegedly.
And I think that kind of goes back to why you should really test your network, because this has happened before where people think they patched, think they loaded it, and especially when you're dealing with a complicated, because correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not an expert on Confluence. That's all Apache Tomcat, right?
Yep.
Oh, God, that's why. Okay, now I know why it's so hard to
Java.
patch.
Yep.
It's Apache Tomcat. Say no more. But this is one of those things you think you patched something, and this is why you run. And matter of fact, it's loading right now in the other room. I got a new spin of Parrot Security. I'm setting up 4 video demos, and I'm going to have OpenVAS on there and a few things. And I want to show these people. I test my own network. I told Xavier to go ahead and poke at some of my network. The guy maybe behind the camera could be poking at my network as we speak. I don't know. He's smiling. So,
There's a guy behind the camera?
or not. He found something or he didn't. I don't know yet. But that's one of those things. It's like, don't just assume because you patched that Apache or whatever. Tools like OpenVAS are popular, Metasploit, and others, because you can then run tests against there to verify. It's like anything, test then verify. I think I created a firewall rule that does this. I then run a verification against that rule, even though I plain as day see it.
And this is something that I really want to touch on. I'm so happy you said that. The security researchers, at the point in which its CVE is released, should immediately come out with the proof of concept code, just so that engineers like me can just go test. Like, it's already out there. Somebody, if you released it, somebody's going to go after it anyway, like me, and get it done in 2 hours. It wasn't anything crazy, but it's like, you might as well have just given me that code in a burp file so that I could just click the button, make it all professional, and let me test to make sure that the remediation works, and instead of like having to play this guessing game. I just feel like, when I go out and I get on Security Focus, for one, Security Focus lags. If you actually look at the real JSON feeds of CVEs, and I'm a nerd, so I go and look at the JSON feeds, it lags badly, actually, and oftentimes, because you have to bid to put something on Security Focus. So by the time it comes on Security Focus, you would expect that a proof of concept exists, but that's just not the case. I've been on Security Focus for quite the time. I've gone 10 pages at a time deep into Security Focus. I often do that. And you will find almost no proof of concepts for end days. almost none. And it's like, okay, now how can I verify that this thing is actually, work? Like, how do I know it's patched? Sometimes you really don't.
No, and it's never good to just assume. And this goes with all aspects. I mean, the reality is, even outside of the hacking industry, you build something, you test it. When we do even infrastructure for wiring, Corey is good. He plugs in 400 wires at some of these big jobs, but he still tests all 400 of them. You plug a tester in, you make sure you verify the cable. These are just standard procedures, but sometimes in software, people go, oh, look, the version number changed. That version says it's patched.
There you go.
Is it?
Done.
It is it.
And it's tooling that we have, such as Black Duck, that will go and look at your package and go, looks good to me. It's in your artifactor. It has this number. Thank you. Bye. Peace. Mm-hmm. It doesn't go and like actually. Well, there's no verification.
And the Cisco ASAs, I did a video on it within the last 30 days. And I think Cisco should remove the word security out of their company with the way they patched it. So there was that curl. Yeah. I think you know what I'm talking about. This is so stupid. So you could curl against the Cisco's and you'd puke the config file out. So it's external, freaking 10 on the Richter scale, man, CV like 9.8 or whatever. Like, this is serious. You got to patch it. And if you curled it, it would puke its credentials. It puke the file, and you could reverse engineer credentials out of it. It would puke the config file. So what Cisco did as a patch was simply whenever you use any type of web tool, it looks at the user agent. So if I use Firefox as Firefox, Chrome as Chrome, curl has curl. So I love the smartass nature of security researchers. They said curl, and they dash capital A and change the user agent to totally not curl, and that's all it took to get back in.
There you go.
Cisco's patch was, we're just going to block curl. Really? Okay. You can call yourself a different user agent, just lie about the user agent name. That's all they did. They simply did a search and replace for block user agent curl. How's that a security patch?
This is what happens when you put going fast in front of being quality. And we see it all over the place, all over the industry. This is what happens when you go, okay, you have to have this remediated in 24 hours. Some guy gets it remediated in 24 hours. Oh, this is the proof of concept? Click. Oh, it doesn't work anymore? Moved it over to the done. It doesn't matter. If it crops up again, that's a whole nother CVE.
Yeah.
Now it does. It's happening in a completely different way. It's a different method for exploitation.
Yeah, because you had to add an extra line of curl of totally not curl as the user agent.
But if you're focused on quality, then you actually take the time to look at all of the other ways that this could be attacked. You take the time to actually, and I know we're talking about security here, so you don't want 7 days in, all of your customers that have been hacked, but there's got to be some middle ground to not being maybe perfect, but just not being bad. Like, that's just bad. Yeah. Blocking user agent when half of us security guys are running burp anyway? You don't think that I'm tampering with the user agent?
But what they don't expect is guys like us to go that far.
Why not?
Yeah.
We go further.
Exactly.
And that's just
made centrifuges, not spin.
Which is what we try to tell them.
Yeah, and this comes on to, developers, my favorite is, we've seen this at DC 3 and 3 a few weeks ago when we had a speaker. We've seen some of the dev team at a local company show up. I love when I see those guys there. They want to know, they're like, oh man, I want them to gain some knowledge and go, wow, these guys are going to change the user agent on me, man. I should probably write more robust software. I want them to do that. That's a sign of a good dev team, And then, of course, talking to us. What would you do? How would you poke at my system? Oh, we'll tell you how we'll poke at it. Make it better so we can. This is all about learning. That's one of the biggest things about there. We want the systems to not be able to broke into. So it's not like, as much as it's fun to hold the flag up and say, I got it, there's a thrill to that. It's also better if we didn't.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah.
It shouldn't be this easy.
Shouldn't be this easy. It's still admin way too much.
Oh, man. Apparently
that's
the wave right now. Vagrant. Vagrant in there.
Someone had a couple questions in here that I seen fly by. One of them was books. What are some books? Besides, read every issue of 2600, get all the back issues. I highly recommend that, but that may not be rational. Do you guys have any? I'm going to, even despite recent controversy, please don't tie me to the recent controversy of a Krabby Krebs and a Crazy Mitnick right now.
Crazy Mitnick. Don't fuck with that guy.
I ain't fucking with him. I will say their books that they wrote are good. Kevin Mitnick's book is excellent read. A different type of book, but conceptual, is going to be like some of the books by Schneier. Was it is it David? I want to say David and Goliath, but it's a play on words for that. It's Bruce Schneier's books. We'll just say Bruce Schneier. If you don't know who Bruce Schneier is, learn who Bruce Schneier is. There's some reading for you. Books wise though, Ghost in the Wires. I've read all Kevin Mitnick's
I got
books.
a lot of
enjoyed
books here. I got all. Basically, I have all of my books here. I'm gonna be honest with you. I want to hit you over the head with this because
Yep.
I got a lot of PDF books. Okay, like, I don't know if I'm gonna get sued for this, but like, you know,
Just
I'm
give
gonna
'em a
throw it
couple.
out here,
Just a
right?
couple.
You know, this is something you should think about: hacker techniques, tools, and incident handling, right? The Linux programming interface. You know, let's see another one: practical reverse engineering, phishing dark waters, the offensive and defensive side of malicious emails.
What I'll try to do is
We'll list them.
we'll do a forum
Mythical
post.
Man Month.
We'll do a forum post, and I'll throw some books in there. I have books I've read for business. I have books read for that. I mean, that's something that I always make sure I'm clear to people. I'm speaking at a big event on Monday, so anyone who's in the area, I'm speaking at the big IoT tech event at the Science Center. Anyways, but one of the things I talk about is the knowledge isn't accidental when I speak to. It's more of an entrepreneurial talk and some social media stuff. I'll be talking, not hacking, but I talk about this, like all of us. You'll find that we've read a lot of books. We spend a lot of time, and the word book is probably dated because I probably spent more time when I was younger reading books. These are technically called zines at the time, you know, that were popular. Still the same concept. A lot of reading and knowledge is spent to get this. It's not like we just were people looking, oh, I don't know, Xavier, Tom, and those guys, they're just gifted or whatever. Like, no. We just spent a lot of Friday nights not out partying, but out with our nose to the grindstone and reading this. I mean, there's not some people I know. I work with a few people I know seem to comprehend it faster. People do comprehend things at different rates. I won't lie that there's some skill involved, but in the big picture, it's not sitting around in Netflix and chill. It's sit down and read a whole lot of books. And I'm in my 40s now, and I'm still doing it. I'm still picking the next list I'm going to go through. And I'll probably go through Xavier's list because he said a couple I know I haven't read, and those will probably just be on my next read list.
And I mean, I've gone as far as on some of my accounts to zip up all of my books and put them out on my web server and give them to people. So reach out to me if you want books, because that's one thing that like I'm willing to, you know, always give away is information. That's just like a part of me. Like I have a lot of these books. I've read 80% of them. I still have books in there that I haven't read yet. But you know, mastering Wireshark, anything that has to do with Kali Linux, Red Team Field Manual. You know, depending on where you're at, right? So do you want to be doing social engineering? Well, yeah, read some of that, you know, phishing the dark waters kind of stuff. Are you really new to cybersecurity? You should probably go and read, you know, some of those Kevin Mitnick books. Art of the Intrusion is a good one. You know,
The Kevin Mitnick ones are, I think, a great place to start because they're highly relatable. They're not deeply technical. Kevin, by his own admission, he's not a technical style hacker. He's much more on the social engineering side, but it makes you think differently, and it gets that part thinking. He's not going to give you the walkthrough like we posted here for the you know, details for how they walk through the teacher hack here. But you're going to get a lot of concepts. And those concepts are really important to hacking. And when we talk about people like Jay Street, here's another person, non-technical, does amazing work.
shout out to Jason Street, man.
Yeah.
Jason E. Street, go look him up. Go look at his talks. That's another thing, right? Sometimes it's not books that you need to read. Sometimes it's YouTubes that you need to watch.
Yeah.
And DEF CON has been putting out great content for the last 26 years or so.
Yes.
And it's just as much as you can find of it is right there on a torrent on the website. And it's on YouTube, right? And a lot of these guys are teaching you stuff that no one else will teach you, and it's sitting right there with 12,000 views for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
All right, so like, go check it out.
Yeah, there's so much out there for that. And I think we're gonna wind it down. We've been going for about an hour. So is there any more questions from the class? I mean, like I said,
someone says, I think Fortress asks, what's the best way to contact you?
which one of us?
Xavier, for the books. Fortress.
Best way to contact me for the books would be potentially Twitter, allegedly. I may or may not have a Twitter handle that starts with an I.
You can certainly find them through me. We retweet the same things. It wouldn't be hard to figure out. Should I post your Twitter in the show notes?
Sure, post my Twitter in the show notes. Come and follow me. But for right now, it's Infinite, INFENET. Come and give me a follow. Come and troll me. All of the funness.
All the funness.
No self. If you can post it, you know it. Go ahead and post it up there. No self is a bro.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, cool. He can do it. So go ahead and post that. We're going to post this in the forums. We created a separate section in the forums. I'll get Xavier to participate in there, maybe post some links. That way we can have a little interaction. A few people asked us for Discord. The problem I have with Discord is you want real-time interaction. I don't have that because I'm busy with client projects and that. I have times I schedule with myself, like I'm going to reply to forum posts for this hour. I'm going to report to this. So that's why Discord's hard for me. I'm not someone who always just sits online doing stuff. That becomes really difficult. So I've done it. I've jumped in other people's Discords and it's fun, but then I realize I have too many things to do. So, you guys probably kind of feel the same way.
I'll be honest. A lot of my things that I do, I'm Tom's here, right? He's spent a lot of years doing exactly what I'm doing right now, which is just like being on the computer. Right? Like I'm literally, you hit me up on Keybase, it's gonna pop up. I'm right there, and it's probably unhealthy the amount of computer time that I'm seeing these days. I mean, we're at about 20 hours a day. Daily.
Yeah, I'm for sure at 20 hours a day.
You're at 48 hours a day.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that off camera. But yeah, I mean, I have a pretty good line with Tom. Reach out to me at any given time, and I'm on Keybase. My Keybase is attached to my Twitter.
Yep.
It's attached to my GitHub. Mo's on Keybase.
I'm on Keybase.
I'm on Discord.
We'll make a Discord that they can come and ask us questions. Yeah. We'll make one for you guys.
Yeah,
Tom won't be on there.
Tom will pop in and out. I don't got time to manage it.
No.
I manage the forums though, and if you look, I'm really responsive. You post questions and things like that. My forums, because there's a lot of categories. I'm covering the business forums. They're all broke down in forums.
Tom is way more busy than me. Trust me. Like,
I've been busy interacting.
Don't bother him. Bother us. We'll answer all of your desires. All right. And if we can't figure it out, and we drag in the gray.
I'm going to make him post the Discord link in the forums. We'll pin it to the top. So if he creates it, I'll post it.
I'll create it right now.
All right. And with that, I think.
So hold on, wait. I don't want to leave him too soon.
No.
I don't think that we really talked about how we got into hacking.
Okay. Oh, you're right. We didn't. Okay.
How did you get into hacking? Man, can you talk about it? Is it a legend?
Just a brief.
Where did I get started on that?
Why not?
I'm going to say, because I don't think, is this over 20 years ago? I have no idea what the statute is, but I got caught a couple times. That's how you get better. So back in 1992 is my first real hack, which was hacking a COBOL box for a guy from Unisys. And this was at the school, and it was part of a class thing they were doing. So I put it together, put all my friends' names in it, and just all the silliness we could put in there. Because, when I would have been 15 at the time. That was first time I previously had a lot of computer experience. So when I jumped into this class, it was a COBOL training class. And think about that, COBOL for a language. If you're not familiar with it, COBOL is a really interesting language because it doesn't use like even a shorthand. Every function isn't like adding a plus sign. It's like typing the word plus out and minus out. It's a really long form language, and it was popular for years. Anyways, so I was learning, I had a vocational class I took for COBOL. I started, my first computer was a TRS-80, so that starts in the 80s as far as my actual hacking and taking apart computers and going to OS 9 was the operating system at the time that you got, and that was a meetup, so like I could start at that level of history. I got a board level. Do you count when I made a VHF radio and used to hack CBs?
There you go.
So I was a CB hacker. That was probably when I was 11 or 12.
That's about the normal
age.
I
rigged a base station, hung it from a tree so you couldn't see it, and I used to troll truck drivers at the truck stop. And I'd just call them names and stuff until I could get them really angry.
I just want to thank Jed real quick. Thank you for the donation, Jed.
Hey, thanks, Jed. Awesome. We'll buy more beer with it. So,
certainly will.
Yeah, I guess where I got started, either A, was it hacking CBs, that's my electronic board level stuff, or was it B, when I did the COBOL stuff, and then from there, once I figured out how to keep getting back into the system, because the teacher kept his password. Do you remember those old wooden desks in the old schools? They had that one, like the teacher could slide out this wooden board, hidden, and he just kept his password up, but it was like so you could set more papers there, like to extend your desk, and he'd slide it back in, but his passwords were on there. So I'd first do something stupid to get myself in trouble purposely, so I could open that up. I'll go get in my office. Oh, perfect. That was my goal. Because I go in there, you'd ask me why. But I'd find a reason why to put me in there, and I would just go get the passwords because he'd change them once in a while, and he'd cross them out. And he actually wasn't using a schema, but that's how I kept getting back into the system when he'd get me out.
Boom. Persistent
He
access.
could not figure out how I kept getting back in. It was great. I'm like, your credentials are like lying through it. Next password. He was done. I'm back in.
Oh boy. Now what about you, Mo? How'd you get into hacking?
The honest truth is my
The
childhood.
honest truth? Oh, this about
The
to be.
honest truth.
Oh, boy.
Shoosh. I want the fake truth.
Movies from my childhood. Like the hacker kid in movies was like the coolest. He could just
There
like
you go.
pull money out the ATM. He could just like change the movie on the movie station. It was just the coolest guy. So I was like, I have to learn this. Like, and just machines fascinated me. Like, you could just put me in front of a machine and I would just be there all day. You didn't have to check on me. I was good.
There you
And
go.
so then that moved into we got AOL. And I had a
oh boy.
I had a
See, that's the next generation down from freaking
Yeah.
the phones.
Yeah.
Now he's booting people offline.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't even use the internet no more because now I just basically disconnected your phone.
So it started with AOL with a dial-up. I had a 14.4 kbps modem.
Ooh.
Those were so sad.
I got bored with AOL, so I started poking around at it. I started finding administrator rooms that were offline to regular users, and that
boy.
really piqued my interest.
Oh boy.
So I had fun with that for a while. I won't really go into that. Then it led to the Yahoo days. You know, Yahoo Chat. I would make booters, boot people
Oh,
offline.
yeah.
Get him
Lock
out of
down the
there.
Those were great.
microphones.
Oh boy.
I mean, that really just
Punters and pinters.
I was like, this is it. This is what I'm gonna be doing.
Oh boy.
And so now that just led me to penetration testing, which I like to help people secure their systems by analyzing it.
Yeah. That's
That's fun. That's fun stuff.
and Xavier's got to tell all now.
Me?
How do
I'm not a hacker at all, man. I don't do any hacking. I do CSS and JavaScript.
Shout out to Nacho Cheese. Say what you know about the AOL overhead account. No.
So me, so like I said, some of my I've said this in previous episodes. Some of my earliest memories, black and green screens. All right, CRTs, keyboards. That's just like some of my earliest memories. I was lucky enough to be around computers the majority of my life. Spent some time working on computers with my Uncle Paul. Shout out to Uncle Paul.
Hey.
He's always giving me all my computers. He's always helping me out with computers. But I'll say my first time really, like, are we talking about like the what Tom was talking about with the radio trolling, right?
Yeah. That was a radio troll.
I would say
That's sad. I mean, but come on, forgive me. It was 20-something, 30 years ago now.
there you go.
So.
I would say I really started to get into that type of stuff with like video games, PlayStation 3, booting people off. That's kind of really frowned upon right now. Like that's current day bad guy stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't really think about it as hacking at that time. I thought about it as you're beating me in Madden online. I don't want to let you beat me on Madden online. So now you can't play Madden online no more. Also, I get the win because you got disconnected. So it wasn't necessarily like anything advanced. I wasn't cracking into banks or anything.
Oh, no.
But that kind of opened up my mind to, you know, I have a tool that I can run on my Windows machine that'll like do stuff. And around the same time was when Anonymous started to really like kind of crush other companies and like kind of do mean things on the internet. And I was just like, this is interesting. And so like I kind of like got lost in the depths of the really, really ugly sides of hacking, which is now like I grew up in that era, like the current era of when, you know, hacking wasn't necessarily looked at as like for fun or looked at for like for skill, but more so like as a tool to like go against Scientology and shit. Okay. Like it more so is a different vibe for me when I first got into it. And from that I've kind of grown and learned some things and learned what to do and what not to do and who to hang out with and who not to hang out with on the internet. And now I basically use my powers for positive, right? I like to you know, I just have a passion for finding my way into things. I don't have a super cool story that I can share because, again, limitations. And I think that I'm really still such a young hacker that a lot of the stuff that I've been able to do, like I really just can't even really discuss as much as other people. I'm pretty sure I could still get in trouble for booting people off of PS3. Like, I'm almost positive there's an IP address that could be associated with me and a log somewhere, allegedly.
Somewhere, allegedly.
I mean, they have never come knocked on my door because I booted that kid off of.
I see the people in the chat talking about their first computers. The first computer I ever touched was an Apple IIGS with a floppy drive. We played Oregon Trail.
Wow, my first computer? Dude, I don't know what it was. It was a computer. I remember the first cool computer I got was the big old Mac that was like had a handle on it, and it was like
Yeah, the C64, TRS-80. I used to go, this girl, Sophia, I used to hang out with her because she had Leisure Suit Larry on an IBM. That was back in like 1993.
Ooh, there you go.
She in jail for other reasons, not hacking.
What?
She crazy. Anyways.
All right.
Should
we wrap it up there?
Wrap it up there. We'll leave it with that. We could probably go on for stories. We got stories for days here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put it to you like this, right? How I got my first job at hacking, I think is what a lot of people would be interested in.
Dysentery.
Yeah, we should probably put a whole in our show to some of those of getting into it, some of our first jobs and stuff like that. So that's definitely
because I think that like there's something special to being able to actually break through into the job market with cybersecurity. It's really, really hard. Like I was even just talking to a couple of friends over at Tech Systems, and they're like, man, we might want to come on to how they got hacked and figure out like how do we talk to people about getting them over the hump, because there's a lot of junior cybersecurity jobs, junior pen tester, incident handler, just all types of jobs, red and blue team, that are going unfilled because people's resumes don't really reflect their interest. And just because you're good at a certain thing doesn't mean that your resume will resonate to someone who's trying to hire you for a particular role. You have to look like that's what you do.
And there is so much valuable information dropped in that Chris Roberts interview. He talks about how do you bypass HR, essentially.
Right.
You know, if you want to look at it, because I've seen people use this term in the business world a lot, but it's like growth hacking or job hacking, because you're anytime you're circumventing a system, whether that system be a series of people in HR or that, there's ways to get into this industry. You know, one of those things that a quote I've heard a long time ago, but have skills so strong they can't ignore you. Once you're the one out there, you know, doing that stuff, companies start seeking you.
You know what? That's so real, because I went to I got my first job through HR. I've only gotten one job ever through actual, maybe two, through actual HR. This was the first job that I ever got through HR, and it was because I hacked them. It wasn't for any other reason but because I actually put a rubber ducky in their computer, poisoned their SSIDs, had a DAuth attack running, and actually DAuth them from the SSID that they were connected to, and they connected to my SSID. And in that same payload, on the ducky payload, I spawned a reverse shell, and I also caught the reverse shell. So basically, I pwned them.
Yeah.
And they were like, we have to have you now.
There's that cartoon. I have to find it. I'll tweet it tonight. I love that one where it's the security guy sitting there and it says, "What makes you think we should hire you for the cybersecurity company?" He goes, "Well, I hacked your account and I put myself in for the appointment. That's why I'm here."
There you go. Right?
You know. Anyways, we'll leave with that. Like I said, we could babble on forever about this, but thank you for over 100 people, and for those of us that threw us beer money for next week.
There you go.
Awesome. Share this. Love this. Thumbs up and send us questions. They said something Discord. I will be posting this in the forums. I will try to participate in Discord because, you know, I'm only on the computer 20 hours as well, but why not make it 21? All right, we're out. You want to press the button? You got excited about that button last time.